So we've got a lot to talk about today. Um, Germany and Italy play tomorrow, which, as we all know, is anything but a friendly, and I mean that in the heaviest sense of the word. Tomorrow is going to be like a World Cup match or a European match. There won't be any ounce of a friendly. Certainly, what I believe. Um, I do believe that we're going to see a lot of experimentation tomorrow. But further on, I want to talk about a few things before we even get to that. And the first thing is how well Italy played against Liechtenstein and the different mindset that we're seeing from Giampiero Ventura, especially against smaller teams. I think that's going to pay dividends. Maybe not now, maybe in a year, maybe 18 months from now, when we see World Cup time come around. Because there's never been a project quite like this before. There's never been a project with so many youngsters involved in quite a long time. The last time I remember this many youngsters or under 23s on the side was probably back in 2012, 2013 after the Euro when Prandelli called up a predominantly U21 side to play in a friendly after or in August. But I think this is a much more promising generation, and we're seeing that. So Italy is going to be playing Germany tomorrow, and both sides just came off World Cup qualifiers. Both sides won pretty convincingly. Germany played San Marino. Italy played, of course, Liechtenstein. But the number one thing is both these sides have different objectives. Germany, of course, is a powerhouse at producing consistently youngsters, while the Italians haven't really produced a generation worth of any note the last 10 years. That's beginning to change as time goes on. So what we're seeing tomorrow, I think we're going to see a blend of youth and a blend of experience. But there's three different websites or newspapers who put out three starkly different probable lineups. And the one that I like the most is from Eurosport. They're going with a 3-5-2 consisting of basically more or less the same. More or less the same of personnel, but in a different manner. So Eurosport says that it's going to be Immobile and Belotti again up top, while we have a midfield trio of De Rossi, Verratti, and Parolo, flanked by Bonaventura and Darmian, and a defense consisting of Romagnoli, Bonucci, and Rugani with Buffon in goal. Now, this is the most realistic for me, but at the same time, I don't believe that is going to – I don't think that's going to be the case in a few positions, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I don't see De Rossi playing tomorrow. I think that it would be very, very interesting to see him go more than go two full games. Verratti and Parola are very probable. On the right, I would be interested in seeing who plays. I don't think Darmian gets the nod. But up top, I do see Immobile and Belotti continuing to play together. Right now, I mean, the hottest strikers Italy's had as a tandem in a long time. It's certainly much more different than Pele and Eder. But there's a lot of options now. The roster is it's a big roster. Each called up over 28 players. I think we may be at 29. They made a lot of moves with some of the injuries. There's a lot of players who aren't going to get any playing time, but I would like to see Pavoletti play. I would like to see Pavoletti and Lapadula play, but none of the other lineups that we see out there have any indication that we're going to be seeing Pavoletti, Lapadula, or Nicola Sansoni play. And the other one we see is from a Genovese newspaper, Il Sussidario. But this one is another 3-5-2, but in my opinion, it's much less probable, as we have a defensive trio of Izzo, Bonucci, and Astori, which in my opinion, that's just not going to happen. I don't think there's any way we can look at this and say we're going to have Izzo and Astori playing against a German side, and in the midfield we're going to have Darmian, Parolo, De Rossi, Bernardeschi, and Bonaventura with Eder and Zaza up top. This lineup for me is garbage. I don't know where is Dario got this information from, but I would be just completely stunned if he went out with a lineup like this tomorrow, especially given everything he said in the press conference. He wants to encourage youngsters on the side. He wants to bring more in. That's why we see so many players on the side who are under 23 years of age or right at that threshold. La Gazzetta dello Sport has a 3-4-3 tomorrow, which, again, to me, that's just mind-blowing. That's the exact formation Antonio Conte tried in the, I believe it was February or March friendly against Germany, and we got absolutely rocked the entire match. So there's a lot of youngsters, a lot going on for the Azzurri. Personally speaking, I think we're going to see a 3-5-2 or even a 4-3-3 tomorrow. Whatever the case may be, they'll be almost more or less the same base formation. But what I predict is we're going to see De Sciglio and potentially Darmian on the right. There really aren't many other options. I don't think we'll see Zappacosta play again, or at least start. It'd be interesting to see what he does now with that. Besides Bonucci, he's got Romagnoli, he's got Rugani, he's got Izzo, 3 young players who can all contribute a lot. The midfield for me, you have Cataldi and Gagliardini, very young, of course, Verratti as well. But there's a lot of options for Ventura. That's the thing is, before there weren't enough. There wasn't enough. There weren't many youngsters on the side. It was too old of a side. He said that, and I quote, he inherited the oldest Italian side, the oldest Italy side, and it's a 150-year history. Now, whether that's exaggerated or not, that's not really the point. The point is, for so long, Italian coaches, the Commissario Tecnicals, ignored youngsters. Antonio Conte did not bring anybody in who was young to the side. I guess Bernardeschi, yeah. I guess he's actually the only youngster I can think of off the top of my head that really made any notable impact. Stefano Sturaro, yeah. But Ventura recognizes that we cannot keep going down this path of bringing up, 27, 28-year-olds who have no international experience and keep bringing them to World Cups and expecting it to work out. It doesn't work that way. In 2 years, there's plenty of time to get ready for a World Cup. I think that should be said. Looking at the roster now, I wouldn't say that many of these players, I wouldn't say all of them will be, on the plane to Russia in 2018. But there's a lot of opportunity now. There are several players who are out with injury. 3 of the Juventus block are not in this side, and presumably at least 2 of those are going to be going to Russia. Barzagli maybe not. He'll be on the borderline of 37 years old. So I wouldn't say that's a definite possibility. There's a lot of options that Ventura has taken into account, as well as the U21 coach Di Baggio. And tomorrow, this international break couldn't have been more perfect to do this. You have a World Cup qualifier against a nation who, with all due respect to Liechtenstein, they're not going to trouble Italy, and they didn't. And you also have a luxury friendly against Germany. So you're able to see a wide range of performances in different situations, and you have the luxury of being able to call up youngsters in games that really wouldn't matter, but matter at the same time, if you understand what I'm saying. All I want to see tomorrow is several youngsters get a chance. I want to see several youngsters, get the opportunity to go out there and make their mark, make their case to say, I am the future. I think Izzo is one of them. I think Romagnoli is already a lock. He's already a guarantee. Midfield-wise, it's interesting to see what De Rossi is going to do. I don't know how Ventura is going to work that out. It'd be very, strange to leave the 33-year-old out there on the field for both internationals, especially when you have youngsters like Gagliardini and Cataldi on the bench raring to go. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the way he's creating these squads. I'm very satisfied with the way that Ventura's looking at the situation at hand and going forth and saying, yeah, we're going to be a little more daring. We're going to be more attack-minded. They haven't been shut out once. They've played well, I think, offensively at least, in 4 of the 5 games that they've played. Of course, you could say, we didn't play good against Macedonia defensively, but it had been a lot of defensive mistakes, been a lot of individual mistakes that can't happen anymore. Chiellini he's obviously out, but these are opportunities to younger players who wouldn't get this chance otherwise. Rugani and Romagnoli need to get the international experience. We can't go into Russia 2018 with the mindset that a team whose average age is 35 is going to somehow go in and win the World Cup. And for a nation like Italy, a powerhouse like Italy, who has been struggling tremendously with inconsistency for 6 years, both at club and international level, this is the ground zero. This is where the rebuilding process begins and takes place. So when we look at this, when we look at Ventura's plan, the play may not be beautiful. That's a certainty. I mean, we're not guaranteed to see the Bell'Italia, but this gives me hope for the future that finally there is a plan in place to make the Azzurri great again, and I mean that. Moving on to what I think we're going to see from Germany tomorrow, because a lot of talk about them as well doing the same thing the Italians are and trying out many youngsters. So Eurosport has a 4-2-3-1 Christmas tree style formation. And I'm going to be honest, I'd be very, very surprised if the Germans didn't play this lineup exactly. So you got Volland, Gnabry, and Goretzka with Mueller, Gognadin, and Weigl in the midfield. That's the midfield 5. Hector, Awadis, Mustafi, and Rudy in front of a Leno goalkeeper. No Neuer. That would be very surprising to me. I think we're going to see the Germans come out and play with the same objective tomorrow of winning the game, but they also want to see what they have in the pipeline as well coming up to see who can possibly challenge for a position. The Italians need more depth heading into Russia 2018. We need to see a team like that in 2006 where there are more than 11 players on the team who deserve to be starting. Antonio Conte turned water into wine in France. He was a superstar. Antonio Conte was a superstar in 2016, this past summer, when there was no superstar on the field. Now, without the traditional Juventus block in the defense, I'd be very surprised to see if Germany couldn't score a goal or two tomorrow. But it's always a big game. That's the beautiful thing about the Italy-Germany clash is it's always a big game. But both of these sides will have the opportunity to demonstrate who they have coming up to the pipeline, and possibly we may see a few future stars out on the field tomorrow. This has been IFD Radio, and I'm Alex Machiti, previewing Italy versus Germany. Have a wonderful evening.